Good morning. We are starting on Chapter 3 today. So our essential question for Chapter 3 is what happens when you add, subtract, multiply, and divide rational numbers? So now we're kind of onto this new part of rational numbers. So we used to talk about integers. Integers were whole numbers. Rational numbers is the other side of that. So fractions, decimals, or percents, kind of any of those partial numbers. So we'll go ahead and jump in. What we're learning today is talking about rational numbers. So we're going to start with some vocabulary. What I want you to do first is pause the video and write down the definitions for each of these words. Leave a little space, just like I have in your notebook, for a little symbol. Ready, set, go. All right, so now that you've copied them down, just go over them very quickly. So numerator is the top number of a fraction. So you can write a little symbol like 1 over, 3. What we would want is this top number. Denominator is the bottom number. So if we had 1 over 3, now the denominator is the bottom number. Equivalent is two values, numbers, or quantities which are the same. So we talk about equivalent, right? It kind of sounds like equal. So equivalent means equal or the same. Rational numbers, any number that can be written in the form a over b, where a and b are integers and b does not equal 0. Basically, just think about it as a fraction or a decimal or a percent. Multiplicative inverse, two numbers whose product is 1. So this one we'll talk more about. Reciprocal, a number related to another number and their product is 1. So these two are very much related. Multiplicative inverses are usually reciprocals of each other. Like fractions have the same denominator. So 1 over 2 and 2 over 2 would be like fractions. And then unlike fractions have different denominators. So 1 over 2 and 1 over 3 would be unlike fractions. All right, moving on. So again, pause the video and write this down on your paper. Go. All right, so we're kind of looking at comparing fractions. So fractions, decimals, and percents. These are the three ways that we're going to often see rational numbers represented. So let's start with the first example as 1/2. So if we're given that as a fraction, we can write it as a decimal or a percent in multiple different ways. And we can go back and forth between all these forms. Okay, so there's lots of ways to kind of go back and forth here. So the line in between the fraction, think of it as saying divided by. Okay, that's kind of the best way that I like to think about it. So that means 1 divided by 2. So to change that into a decimal, it's actually very easy. You just do numerator divided by denominator. So you're going to do 1 divided by 2. And if you type that into your calculator, you should get 0.5. So that's how we write 1/2 as a decimal. As a percent, we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. Okay, so move decimal 2 places this way. So we start with 0.5. We need to move the decimal twice. 1, 2. So our new problem is going to be, okay, I just wrote those the wrong way. Obviously, this is right. So I'll give myself a little more space here. So 0.5, we're going to move that decimal 2 spaces to the right. So 0.5 becomes 50%. All right. Moving on. We'll look at more examples like this as we go through the class. So today we're going to look at kind of how we change decimals. So we want to write 7/8, which is currently a fraction, as a decimal. Okay, so let's head back up to our sheet and look at what's that going to look like. So 7/8 is our example. Okay, so next example, 7/8. Again, write this down in your notebook right underneath, like I'm setting it up. So to change that into a decimal, we're just going to top divided by bottom. So just work that out in your calculator. 7 divided by 8 gives us 0.875. And then how would we change that into a decimal or into a percent? Same thing, 0.875. We're going to move our decimal twice, so 1, 2, which would give us 87.5%. All right, so the next example we're going to look at is 1/16. So again, we're starting as a fraction. 1/16. We're going to divide 1 divided by 16, which will give us 0.0625. And then to change it into a decimal, or gosh, I say it wrong every time, 0.0625, move our decimal over 2 spots, so we're going to get 6.25%. So all of these ways we're writing these are equivalent, okay? We call that equivalent because they're the same. All right, so that's it for today. So for your last part, I'm going to scroll through a couple things. I want in your notebook to try these problems here. So on your notebook, go ahead and write these down and try these ones. We'll talk more about this in class tomorrow if you're with me, or on the next assignments that you'll be working on the rest of the week. Have a great day.